Welcome, everybody. This is week 6 of the NFL season. And so we're hopping right back into the process where we learn, scout, win, and repeat. This is a podcast or YouTube show, depending on how you're watching, where we will go over the top plays of the week. This is great free fantasy football analysis. You in a standard league, a PPR, half PPR, auction, whatever. Point of the process is we draft well, we manage the season well. Daily seasonal gets boring, and so we turn to DFS if we're doing so well with seasonal. There's a lot less to do, and so we have to have some way to get our football fix. Turn our attention to DFS and attack those sites by getting the best picks each week. Welcome everybody. That's what we're all about here at the process. I'm your host Ralph. Couple of ways you can find us for the new people. If you're a repeat offender, great, welcome back. Love to have a hard head. If you're a first time offender, come on in. The water feels great. We got a lot to talk about this week. We got to review a couple of things from last week, but really quickly, how do we all stay in contact if you're new to this thing? www.tigerbombsae.com. That's the website for Tiger Bomb Sports Audio Entertainment. Bunch of different podcasts there. You can listen to this podcast there. You can watch on YouTube. You can check it out however you would like, but you can watch the YouTube at tigerbombsae.com as well. Click on the process page, listen or watch there. If you're a podcast on the go kind of person, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, that sort of a deal, not a problem. Just go ahead and search for Tiger Bomb Sports Audio Entertainment. This podcast will pop up. You can like and subscribe. You get the other podcasts too. If you go to the website or you look at the podcast page, you'll see there's Pit Row for NASCAR, there's baseball, there's true crime, a little bit of something of everything. If you're a social media person, Facebook or Twitter, you can find us the same way at the process TBSAE. And those are the ways that we can all keep up. A lot of action to go over, but that's our intro for this week, guys. We're just going to hop right into it. We're going to jump right into housekeeping and keep going with our trajectory, which is up and forward and on towards the playoffs. YouTube channel, you guys are going to get the top 5, of course, that the podcast listeners do not get every week. And so this week's top 5 is going to be themed off of the season that we're in. We're in a spooky season, so we're going to have a spooky top 5. Top 5 this week is going to be top 5 horror movie franchises. So not like TV shows and stuff like that, but horror movie franchises. Top 5 since we're in October and we're barnstorming towards Halloween. Let's get in the spirit by talking about such a thing, right? And so number 5 on our list is the Ring franchise. You can't tell me that wasn't scary. Having that girl come out of the TV like that, slide out like that, just the noise that she would make, the not even like the vocal talking, but the like that was real scary. And I remember vividly being a teenager at the time. I remember having a dream where that noise was scaring the heck out of me, and because I had heard it on that movie and fell asleep watching that movie, and it was like in my dream, driving me crazy, man. Very very scary stuff, but those are some cool movies. If you haven't seen them, you should have seen them by now, but you want to check out The Ring if it's escaped you thus far. That's number 5 on our horror top 5, our top 5 horror franchises, if you will. All right, on to our housekeeping for the week, guys. First and foremost, how we did last week. Look, didn't cash in the DFS or GPS first week, but we didn't cash anything. It's going to be like this sometimes. Winning fantasy football in a DFS world is not easy. There's a stadium full of people playing. We're trying to navigate the contest. We're trying to decide what separates us, what elevates us. And if you don't have the heart for that, then hop out or play free games. But this isn't about tilting every week and being upset or the plays didn't pay off. You got to put in the work, or I got to put in the work and bring the picks that will matter to you guys. every week that it doesn't work out, there's got to be something like an injury or something like that because we don't want to just straight miss, right? If we look at last week, we went Wilson with the cash game, and he was fine. $5,300, easy enough to pay off, and that wasn't the thing that killed us. The tournament quarterbacks were fine too. Tannehill, range in the 20s, he was 5,800. Brady and Pickett, those lineups were fine. The issue wasn't there. We did have a few misses though. Zay Jones was a big miss. $4,100 locked into the cash game lineups. That was a big miss for us. Now, not for me personally. He got 8 targets. He got the second most targets on the team. And so, in my world, that's not a miss. 8 targets, he only caught 3 of them. Maybe the injury was hurting him a little more than we would let on to believe, but the analysis wasn't wrong when you look at the targets. But that's one that didn't work out for us. But I can't get too down about that because then I go away and then I give you the wrong guy last week. You guys going to say Gabriel Davis should have been a guy instead of him? He caught 3 balls. I can't recommend in the cash game lineup a guy that's going to maybe catch 3 passes versus a guy that, three or 4 targets, maybe 3 targets, I think. 3 targets. So you want the guy that's going to get 3 looks all game, or you want the guy that's going to get 8 looks all game. So you got to stand by that even when it doesn't work out. That's one that didn't work out. No problems with Godwin or Diggs. Took Diggs a while to pay off, but he did. Samuel didn't really pay off for the tournaments. McLaurin was a big miss too. Wentz and that team, complete garbage right now, as evidenced by Thursday. Woods wasn't anything too special either. We were fine with the tight ends. Ertz and Joku, Goddard, all were fine, but Logan Thomas didn't play. So as far as running back goes, the use both the guys strategy worked a bit. If you did it with Chubb and Hunt, that paid off. If you did it with Harris and Stevenson, that paid off because Harris left and Stevenson got all the run, but you were covered. You didn't just have Harris, you had Stevenson too. Singletary was the big miss. After being a part of the offense all year, just no looks, didn't go to him. No looks. Pierce was a hit. We made out okay there. Henderson and Akers, that one we lost out for tournaments. We get more clarity there this week, and we'll talk about that this week on that show. But that was a miss. Robinson was a miss for whatever reason, just chose not to attack their opponent in the way that everybody's been beating them down in Jacksonville. So now that's a thing where Doug Peterson and faculty shooting themselves in the foot. He gets a reputation for being smarter than he is. He's got a lot of good people around him, but don't know why you didn't lean into the run in the scenario where that was such a good enough play that I even struggled to think whether it should be cash game or tournament. Didn't even pay off. So Cook on his end for Minnesota was fine. The defenses were great last week. We did just fine with everything we recommended from the Patriots. Did you have anybody telling you, people looking at the Lions and stuff, they aren't real. They weren't playing real defenses. They play a real defense and they couldn't even score 1 point. 1 point. So we had New England last week. Cowboys at $2,500, a great play. A great play, not because Diggs in the back with the interceptions. That's the sexy part of it. We're talking about Lawrence up front. We're talking about Micah Parsons up front, putting pressure on a Rams team that has had a depleted O-line, play terrible this year, and a quarterback that has had no time to get rid of it. So we recognize that, and we're able to play that. Guys, we had some hits, we had some misses, but we're right back on the horse this week. No time to cry over spilled milk because week 6 is already upon us, and we got to win this week. We have to make up. This is going to be simple to do. This is a straightforward week. All right, so that was how we did last week. A couple of notes as we slide forward. Stop with the, trying to. Here's the thing. When I'm level with you guys, you do a podcast, video cast, whatever. Anytime you talk to people about this, they like sports, like football. They want to try to prop themselves up and tell you the thing that they know or the thing that they hear, or thing that makes them an expert. And it's like, I could get so upset about it because, guys, this ain't that. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. If you want to do a podcast, do a podcast. If you want to start an LLC, start an LLC. If you want to build a website from scratch, build a website from scratch. If you want to work on it 30 hours tirelessly while you have a normal 9-to-5 job, stay up all nights doing it, then record it on the weekends, then you do that. But what we can't have is the thing where you don't do that. You listen to the talking heads on the TV, and then you want to tell me the 3 things that you heard Troy Aikman hurt. I don't care. I don't care. Their job is different from my job. I don't want to talk. My thing is to give you valuable information to coincide with your information. My thing is not to say my info, get into a pissing match with you guys about who has more valuable info. If you don't trust my info, don't use it. If you want to talk about where I'm getting it or how I'm getting it or what the context of it is, let's do that. But this whole thing where I tell you something, you don't even listen to it, and you try to tell me a thing back to impress me, it's like I was telling you because you asked about that game and I gave you the analysis. In no part of that did I say, tell me back what you think is going to happen more than me. We got to stop with that thing. There's no room in what we do here for what the talking heads want to do. That's a different thing. Their thing is content. Their thing is filler time. Their thing is make the broadcast look good. Is this guy going to tell you this team is trash? No, because they have them on their broadcast in 2 weeks and they want you to watch. So they're going to start hyping them up now, making them seem better than they are. Ratings, content. So believe me when I tell you our mission is not the same. Our mission is to win our seasonal contest, win our daily contest. Their mission is content. I don't care what they said. And it doesn't make you sound smart that you memorize what they said. Pretty much. And I'll die on that horse all day long. Now we can move forward past that, but just such a painful point sometimes to hammer home to people. I don't care what you heard Troy Aikman say. Period. He's not doing the same thing as we are. He can't go on DraftKings and try to win money every week. He can't do that with the analysis that he brings to the table. If that's what you want, go do that. This is different. Seasonal. How are we doing there? You should be doing fine. That's why so much of attention is on DFS, because if you've been a part of the process from the beginning, we had a clear understanding of what we needed to do in the draft, the shifting of philosophies to the importance of wide receiver. We talked about a lot of that early on, and so it makes what we need to do week to week a little bit easier. But now we're on to the sweat now. The sweat is on. The heat is on. What's that 80s song? The heat is on. We're at that part right now. Because now we're going to find out who can build the team. Now we're going to find out who was just picking the next best thing that the ESPN app told you or the Yahoo app told you was the best pick. We're going to find out who doesn't understand bye weeks, who doesn't understand not to pick three guys on the same bye week. We're about to find all that out now. There's a couple of people who are going to look at their app, this past Wednesday to see the new matchups, or Tuesday or whatever, see new matchups. And that was the first time they realized that whoever they had was on bye was on bye. And that was the time where they were like, okay, I'll do something for the waiver bar tomorrow. No, that's not it. Been encouraging you to look ahead weeks before, so we're ready for this now. We're not getting caught off guard by bye weeks. That's for rookies. That's not us. We already know. So the bye weeks are on now. You should have a formidable team or plan to have a formidable team every week. Do you have a plan? Have you looked ahead to next week, week 7, week 8, week 9? This week I've already looked to see where am I in trouble moving forward for any of these matchups in all of the different leagues that I'm doing. So word to the wise, you got to start doing it, because if you think you're going to look on Tuesday, catch what you need on the wire on Wednesday, especially if you've been down and out, it ain't going to happen like that. So take a step back, assess where we are, get it done now for the rest of the weeks. You're a sucker if you're saying, I can afford to drop that game. None of us can afford to drop one game in seasonal. You can't. That's the secret. You can't forfeit a week. You're literally saying, I will give you a week. I will start 0-1. That's hard, man. You can't come back from that. So let's not do that. Hopefully you haven't been there. You're understanding now also, one thing we got to talk about is, we talked a little bit about the DFS and the results. Don't kid yourself. There's not a bunch of, I don't care what you're paying for, what paywall you're behind, there is not one group of guys right now that is out there crushing it week after week after week after week in the DFS world because it's so hard, because there's so many people, because there's a lot of attention on it. We're still going to win. We're going to get more crafty. But one thing you got to know is it's not that we're winning less than other people. The fantasy football world has turned attentions a little bit more towards betting and betting props now and things like that because they're trying to recoup these losses from these sites on Sunday. So we can wade into that a little bit and we will a little bit, but largely I want to kind of, it's just getting here new in California. I recognize that there's a way to do that, but we want to, as I do everything with you guys, I want to talk to you about how we do it safely and not overload ourselves. This becomes a gambling problem. This ain't that. We know in DFS what we do as far as having a set amount to play the double up single entry contest. And then from there, being able to capitalize on winnings week after week after week and then playing the tournaments out of our winnings. That's what we're really talking about. So we know that, but how do we now deal with the fact that there's even more people playing? And so the smart people have shifted to prop betting. We'll get there. But in the meantime, importance of betting, because you got to be good at this. Don't run away. So in the meantime, we want to place importance on starting to understand betting. We'll get there, but also diversification of websites for DFS. That's going to be the thing to help get off some of the ownership, help them win be a little bit easier. All right, those are our housekeeping notes for this week, guys. Hopefully that house is clean and tidy now and you feel much better about what you need to do for these upcoming bye weeks and for the rest of the DFS season, if you will. All right, guys. The top 5 rolls on for our YouTubers. And as a refresher, of course, this week's top 5 is top 5 horror franchises. Number 5 was The Ring, that ever lovely sound that Homegirl used to make. So scary. Number 4 on our list of top 5 horror franchises is going to be Child's Play, Chucky the doll. They've made so many movies out of this. Now there's the TV show too on USA. But listen, this goes back to the 80s. This is a long-standing franchise. Something very creepy about the doll. And if you grew up in my era, it's like it was a My Buddy doll, which is really, I think, the play off of this idea. And so that was creepy because a lot of kids had that growing up. I had a My Buddy doll, went everywhere with me. You know what I mean? Like those not like a Barbie doll. You know what I mean? Like those play buddies or whatever they call them. I don't know. There's like a My Buddy for the boys and a Kid Sister for the girls. I don't know. I could be dating myself horribly right now, probably, but it's true. That's what they had. So, anyways, Child's Play was, bore off of that. What if said doll came to life and was evil? So, incredibly scary stuff there. But it's been a cool franchise. I enjoy all those movies. That's going to be number 4 on our top 5 horror franchises. All right, guys. So we're going to keep it going, sliding along into Would You Rather for this week. If you're new, we're going to go over about 12 different scenarios. Would you rather start this guy? Would you rather start that guy? Of course, you guys can always reach out to me. You have the info now if you want me to talk about something specific ahead of the show. Let's jump into it. This week, Adam Thielen or Dallas Goedert. Thielen's got a great matchup with Miami. They haven't been able to stop anybody in the secondary. I think, if anything, they obviously try to pay more attention to Justin Jefferson, which I don't think is going to matter, but should open some things up for him. Thielen starting to come on slowly. I think Cousins starting to come on slowly, and this is true of him. It takes him a while to get going in the season, but this could be a bigger week for them than I'm expecting for Dallas Goedert. You want to run against Dallas as opposed to drop back and pass and let that defense tee off against you. Not a terrible spot for Goddard, but if I had to pick between the two, I'd go Thielen. Amari Cooper or Darrell Henderson this week? Well, when you play against Belichick, Bill wants to take away the thing that you want to do the most, Amari Cooper's a focal point of the offense. I think easy enough with the cornerbacks that they have in New England to to play man and negate that, maybe a little help here or there. But Daryl Henderson is in the better spot, especially considering the opponent and the fact that Cam Akers is going to sit, so he's going to see a majority of the touches. Malcolm Brown will be hanging around though, but we'll take Henderson there. Elijah Moore or Rashad White? Moore. I'm not too infatuated with either of these guys this week. I think Tom Brady slings it in that Pittsburgh game, so I would take Elijah Moore as opposed to the backup to Fournette. Thielen or Kareem Hunt this week? Now, again, don't really want to test Belichick with the backup running back. I understand Kareem Hunt is a special scenario as he can produce at the same time as Chubb, but I'm probably out on that. The thing that Cleveland wants to do first and foremost is run the football. I think there's going to be dynamics there of Bill trying to deal with that. But I would say probably Thielen again over Hunt. Najee Harris or Jalen Waddle this week. Waddle been banged up. He's going to play, but I don't know. At quarterback they're going with Thompson. I mean, I don't have a lot of faith in that. I think it's more of a running week for them, if anything. But I would go Najee Harris just because I'm not worried about Warren. I'm not worried about Tomlin saying he'd get more touches. He didn't say he'd be the starter. This is a get right spot where Harris can score a touchdown. I think that puts him over Waddle. And then Christian Kirk or Travis Etienne Jr. this week. I don't believe that Etienne is just going to get the job first and foremost. And I think that they need to be in a scenario where the game is running away from them for him to matter, because I think they'll be passing more to him to try to keep up or catch up. But in the scenario where it should be closer this week with the Colts, because they're not that great, I think this is fairly matched teams. Christian Kirk, him in the slot, I think that's much more of a viable thing than Travis Etienne. Melvin Gordon III or Jacoby Myers this week. Melvin Gordon III going to see a majority of the snaps, but Mike Boone is obviously hanging around there too. The Chargers haven't been great against the run in any way, shape, or form. And as far as New England goes, again, you're counting on Zappy, the third string quarterback. So let's go with Melvin Gordon. Kareem Hunt or Drake London this week. Looks like Pitts is going to sit. I initially was thinking this is a good spot for London, but probably more attention can be paid to him this week with Pitts sitting. So I would be weary of that. But as far as Hunt versus London, I still give the edge to London because I do think that Atlanta this will be a football game with the Niners. I think they'll have to they can't just run the whole time. I know they like to run, but they can't just run the whole time. I think Drake London has an opportunity against this banged up Niners defense. Devonta Smith or Najee Harris. As far as the Eagles go, again, this week, I like running the ball more. So I stay away from the secondary or even third receiver if you Goddard sometimes is ahead of Devonta. So I would take Najee Harris. Devin Duvernay or A.J. Dillon, both in decent spots this week. Dillon, especially because the pack should be up and running the clock out at the end. So I see reps for him. But there's going to be no Rashad Bateman this week. So Devin Duvernay gets pushed into more action. I think I got to go with the guy because, Green Bay should be winning, but I think also Baltimore should be winning. So I don't know how much work either of these guys will get. Duvernay probably sees less passes because they don't have to force the issue if they're ahead against the Giants. I think, that could be the case. And if Dillon is seeing more run, then maybe Jones is seeing less run. So maybe the game is already in hand for Green Bay. So I'll go Dillon over Devin Duvernay this week. Ayuk or Michael Carter. Jets got their hands full this week. Should be playing catch up or catch up. And as far as Ayuk goes, I think he might see some AJ Terrell because you can't really shadow Debo with the corner because they could line him up in the backfield. It creates all these different mismatches. So teams are very reluctant to shadow him with the corner, even when they do shadow. I think Ayuk sees that. So I take Carter this week, even though he is the backup, just not super high on Ayuk. Chris Godwin is the final would you rather this week over A.J. Dillon. Tampa Bay is all systems go with Pittsburgh being hurt in the secondary. I think TB12 can sling it. I like Godwin this week as he continues to get healthy and get back. That's our would you rather for week 6. Now you guys know who I would rather, and hopefully that helps you figure out who you would rather. All right, as we move forward, coming up pretty soon to reload here. But just before we get there, we do have another top five. Number 3 on our top five, actually. Top 5 horror franchise movies. Number 5 was The Ring. Number 4 was the Child's Play franchise with Chucky the doll. And then the number 3 on our top 5 horror franchise list is Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger. Super scary stuff growing up as a kid. This guy's going to catch me in my dreams. Oh boy, well, none of that. Because the thing about dreams and nightmares is you might dream about what you go to sleep thinking about. So you watch that, you go to sleep thinking about it, then you have a dream about it. It perpetuates the whole movie in the worst friggin' way. They made so many of these too. Like, is there 20 of them? Somebody please tell me. They've made 20 of these movies already. I would sincerely hope so. The Freddy versus Jason in space, I thought that was good. Just, as a spoiler alert, I guess Jason's not going to be on here. Honorable mention to that franchise. But the Freddy versus Jason in space, yeah, I thought that was funny. But no, number 3 on our list, Nightmare on Elm Street. We got to give it up to my boy, Freddy Cougar. Is his middle name is it Freddy J? Feel like it's like Freddy J Cougar or something like that. It's gonna have to be for our intents and purposes here at the process. All right, time to that show where time for the part of the show where guys we reload, and we'll start with this past Thursday's game, Washington and Chicago. Washington and Chicago, two very bad teams. Washington and Wentz looked terrible. I don't know what's going on with the offense in Washington. They should have been able to be much more effective. McLaurin pretty much invisible out there. Chicago also having problems passing the ball, having to settle for the run. Khalil Herbert couldn't find the end zone. Looked pretty easy from where I was sitting. But these are two very not great football teams. Fields obviously doesn't have a lot around him supporting him as a cast. Offensive line still questionable for Chicago. A lot of questionable parts for Washington too. I'm not sure where either of these teams go from here, but they look like the worst teams in their divisions. Washington escapes from the win. I know Wentz escapes with the win. I know Wentz is getting a specialist to look at the broken finger, but it's so hard to get invested in either parts of these teams right now because they produce so little week to week. But just another pitiful Thursday night game, just like Denver and the Colts last week. NFL's got to do a little better with this. Reload. On to Sunday, San Fran at Atlanta. Listen, San Francisco's banged up in the secondary. Jason Verrett's going to have to give it a go because of these injuries. He's always injured, and he hasn't actually played since week 1 of last week. We'll see what he can do. But as far as San Francisco goes, they've got some guys missing. I think Bosa on the line is missing. There's going to be room for Atlanta. At home, they've been playing everybody tough. They're coming off of a letdown last week against Brady and that fictitious roughing the passer call that pretty much cost them the game. They're going to be hot. They'll be ready to go. San Fran, defensive wise, they get a break because there's no Pitts. I liked Pitts just out there being a diversion for our guy, Drake London. I don't think it's going to be an issue this week, so they can focus on London a little more. I don't know who arises in the Atlanta offense if that happens, but they're going to run the football. I don't want to get too invested in one of these running backs, but Damian Williams was the lead guy at the beginning of the year before he got hurt. He should find more room on the ground, but I can't go there. Algier will probably still be around 2. Huntley, maybe a few reps here and there. The biggest thing I could say for Atlanta is I like their defense in this game. They're so cheap on DraftKings this week, $2,500. I think that has a chance to not kill you. And we've been very good at signaling out these defenses that won't kill us week to week. This is another scenario. So to wrap it up again, San Fran, defensive wise, might be in a little trouble. As far as the offense goes, I like Deebo Samuel because he's going to be able to get what he wants. It's hard to scheme against him because you can't exactly shadow, right? So I don't think A.J. Terrell shadows him. I think he shadows Ayuk. That does leave Debo Samuel to do some damage, but Kittle, this should be a big game for Kittle. We really like him for tournament upside this week a lot. That's the where San Fran goes. As far as running the football, Jeff Wilson is there. But I think there's, they're going to mix in a few of the other guys. They have Tevin Coleman back. They're getting Jordan back. There's going to be a few different guys. I don't have a problem with it. And I'm still recommending Wilson for cash game, but just know that it's not going to be he gets 100% of the reps or 90 or 80 or 70, right? Um, we want 60 is what we're hoping for. But that's a little bit of what I see from their offense. Their defense, I don't know what they'll be able to muster against Atlanta. It's going to be tough, but Atlanta's going to win this game. I think they're fired up after last week. They know they need to win. Path of resistance should be a little bit easier for the offense. But again, I don't know if I have the heart to go there for DFS seasonal wise. If you need to go Damian Williams, let's hear that he's playing first and he's going because we know that Cordell Patterson is sitting. But a little worried about Drake London now that Pitts is out. I was going to recommend Atlanta, and defensive wise, I still think they're in a good play. I think it's more of a toss up now. I'm starting to lean more towards San Francisco as we talk it out. But I'm not going to shy away from that Falcon defense. I do think that they can provide problems for Garoppolo, who hasn't played great, but he should have a little bit more to win. I think this will be a heartbreaker for Atlanta at home. Reload. New England and Cleveland, Belichick going back to Cleveland. Whoever made the schedule this year was on it. All the fun matchups. Look, we talked about this one during the Would You Rather. Straightforward with Cleveland. I think they want to run the football, and New England is probably going to try to take away the thing you want to do best. I don't know if they're equipped to do that, but I'm not for seasonal, play your Hunts, play your Chubbs, and feel fine about it. I'm not overly hyped on it outside of that. Okay. For DFS, I'll probably stay away. And Joku, if you want to play him, that's great. I don't get there, but he has not let us down. So if you want to go, and we played him for DFS last week, that's fine. That's fine. Seasonal, that's fine. Roll him out. Donovan Peoples-Jones, interested there because I think Amari Cooper does get more attention. But we do know that New England wants to play man a lot more traditionally than most teams in the NFL. And unlike the Lions, they're actually decent at it. So I think man coverage probably doesn't bode well for Amari Cooper on the outside against Jackson, who's been really good. But also the other corner for New England has been pretty decent as well. So, it's not going to be a cakewalk for Peoples-Jones. Njoku, as I said, probably a very interesting look. Along with the offense, they're not going to blank the running backs. Chubb has been the best running back this year, RB1. He's going to cause problems that I think can open it up, and those are the guys on Cleveland that I like. But on the other side of things, I think Bill is too smart and he finds a way to win this game. I still like his defense. I like the turnover. We know that Jacoby Brissett is going to manage the game. I'm not sure he can actually win the game. Bill will force him to win the game. I don't think that happens. I think they put it in a scenario where he turns it over again at the end of the game. We've seen him do this a couple of times. Sneaky like New England's defense. As far as the offense goes, great. They can run the football, Ramon Stevenson, but just know it's not going to be just him. Kevin White signed up off the practice squad. Pierre is there. J.J. Taylor. I mean, they've got some guys. It's not just going to – if you think it's just going to be Ramon Stevenson, that's probably not it. But you can feel comfortable in using him, though, if you have to for seasonal. I stay away for DFS. But Zappy back there at quarterback again. So I'm not really looking at anything in the air for New England per se, especially as they get healthier on the D-line. So I do think that they run the football, some play action, and the defense gives them a short field to work with. New England finds a way to win that game. Reload. Jets going to Green Bay. Green Bay thumped by the other New York team in London last week. I think they come back strong. They come back with a vengeance. They come back trying to prove themselves. So I like Green Bay in this one. Jets have not gotten as good a play from Zach Wilson at quarterback as they had gotten from Flacco. I don't think that means they go back to Flacco, but a little bit of a downgrade for all the receivers, especially Wilson. He's keyed in on Wilson a lot less, and he's keyed in on Berrios more, Davis more. But I think that Jair Alexander probably, gives Davis the attention this week. I don't know who he goes to then outside of that. Maybe, like I said, Berrios, but I don't think we need to take a chance with it in a game that they lose. They should be playing catch up though. So I like the passes out of the backfield. I like Brees Hall. I like Brees Hall, not Carter. Definitely, he's been taking on more and more of the rushing work as well as the passing game. And so I like Brees for those passes out of the backfield and runs earlier. He's going to be involved. He gets the touches. They don't win, but he gets the touches. The Green Bay side of things, lead the way with the run. Like we talked about earlier, Dylan should get the run down the stretch because they'll be ahead. Their defense is in a good spot. Aaron Jones is in a decent spot. I don't know how much work he gets because the game should get out of hand for them. Lazard, as far as Lazard goes, I'm wondering if he gets shadowed with Stingley. But actually, Stingley mostly stays to the left side of the field, so maybe not a shadow is what I'm thinking. But as far as the Green Bay wide receivers go, we know the usual suspects. Lazard for the touchdown. Dobbs, maybe moving the ball a little bit. I know that Cobb is out there, but I just can't go there. He had the most production week than he's had in years. And so Father Time's caught up to him. I feel a little less comfortable with that. If you want to play Rodgers, you can, but I just don't feel like it's a game where they have an explosive pass game that gets out of play. To be clear, they win the football game because of the running. Maybe Rodgers passes it in near the goal line. They've got really good goal line plays that they can draw up. And also their defense leads the way. Opposite side for the Jets. Tight end, they're splitting time with Uzoma and Conklin now, so a little less on Conklin. Maybe Uzoma gets a bump, but Conklin's not going away, so I'm just not sure what to tell you there. Brees Hall, though, I feel fine about. That's their workhorse. Reload. Jacksonville at Indy. Jacksonville blanked Indy in Jacksonville. Indy's going to be coming back strong for this one. But listen, you got yourself no Taylor this week. You got yourself no Hines this week. They're both sitting. And so you're looking at a Philip Lindsay sort of a scenario, perhaps. Again, so it's going to get a little bit precarious, I think, for the Colts. We have to see who they turn to. But again, Philip Lindsay, I maybe just don't, well, here's the thing. Indianapolis can't rely on the run or the pass because their offensive line is terrible. So they're going to have to turn to somebody, whether it be Lindsay or another running back. They can't just say, all right, we'll rely on Matt Ryan. He's been historically bad this year. So that's not a person that you want to put the game in his hands. I don't think they can do that. So Deion Jackson and Philip Lindsay happen to be the next man up. I do think that I'm downgrading Pittman and Pierce this week. Alec Pierce has been coming on strong. I like the work that he's been doing. But again, Jacksonville has been pretty steady defensively. They've been able to rush the quarterback a little bit. Matt Ryan is not great. If you want to play Jacksonville defense, I think I don't have a problem with that, but I'm just not expecting them to win. I think the Colts find the way. Now, for the Colts part, though, no Leonard. He's still not going to be on the field. So Jacksonville, they should have an interesting time trying to run. I want to say Robinson, but last week they showed they're not afraid to go away from him, even when it makes sense. But I would say Robinson is in play. Etienne a little less, I feel safe about, but sure he's in play. Receivers continue to get healthier this week for them. Marvin Jones probably in play a little, but I think it's tougher on the outside. So the Joneses have it tougher on the outside. Christian Kirk probably a little easier on the inside for Jacksonville, and Evan Ingram maybe a little easier as well. Those are the guys you're looking at as main targets for Trevor Lawrence. I don't think that Jacksonville can sweep the Colts. I do think that the Colts are a team that you got to start thinking about because this is how the NFL is. People like to take a snapshot and they think that everything that in week 7 is prism and this is how it is. And so I can just extrapolate out who's going to be in the playoffs and who's not. It's not like that. In the NFL, teams go on runs, teams get healthier, teams get hurt, they get depleted. A lot of things can change. And so this ebbs and flows of the season. Right now, the Colts have won 2 out of 3. And 2 of those wins, one of those ones was against the Chiefs, right? So it's like they have a chance to really pick up some momentum. I know it doesn't look like it when you're looking at it. It's disgusting. It's very hard to watch. They seem to be down at running back, but this is a divisional opponent at home in a winnable game, and I just don't see Jacksonville sweeping the season series. Frank Reich knows he's coaching for his job. He can't lose this one. They're going to find a way to win. I think their defense does just enough to keep them in the game. The running backs do just enough to keep them in the game. But I think Jacksonville should be favored. I'm just not sure that they're a mature enough football team to pull it off. Reload. Cincinnati at New Orleans. Guys, this is my secret game of the week right here. There's too many for DFS. There's too many people going Mahomes and Allen. It's going to be hard to differentiate yourself there. I like this game in the Bayou for a lot of reasons. You got you got Papa Joe coming home. He's LSU graduate, right? They're going to New Orleans. They're going to the Superdome. Joe's very familiar with this environment. He's going to have a lot of friends, maybe some family there, I would suspect. But this is a homecoming for Joe and for Lamar Chase. I like them both. I mean, goosebumps thinking about how well I think that they should play. New Orleans has been a little more stout against the run. Mixon has had the most touches of any rushing attempts of any running back this year thus far. I just don't see that being as fruitful this week. T. Higgins, iffy, doubtful. That ankle ain't looking great. I'm not so high on him. But as I said, Chase finds a way this week. I think Boyd's in play this week. Not so much the tight end. I don't think Hurst, but he has been coming on. Now, on the other side of things, I like this as a shootout because Cincinnati's defense isn't great either. And you have New Orleans. I was hoping Jameis would play, but you're going to get Dalton in the revenge game against Cincinnati. This is lining up, guys, to be a good one. I like him to perpetuate the offensive side of this game. I'm not playing him this week. I don't need to do that. Olave is going to go. I think he's clear concussion protocol. So sad to hear that Jarvis Landry isn't going. Former LSU guy. I was expecting him to have a great game. Michael Thomas. I thought this was going to be a playground matchup, but Thomas and Landry are sitting. So Olave, you've got to elevate him for sure. I think maybe you've got to elevate Taysom Hill just because they don't have a lot of weapons. Kamara, I like him this week, but he hasn't looked right this year. But I like him for the pass catching ability out of the backfield. Just giving Dalton that extra ability to get rid of the ball quickly. I think New Orleans does enough. I don't think they win this game. Papa Joe comes home and gets the victory. Him and Chase have a fun time back in New Orleans. I think there's a lot of people there cheering for both sides. I think New Orleans keeps it a game. They run up tempo. I think Dalton doesn't embarrass himself, but just depleted of so many weapons. I think they would lose a game that I'm expecting points in and secretly want to lean all over this one in DFS. Reload. Baltimore, the Giants. Giants coming off a big win last week. They're 4-1. Daboll is getting every ounce of productivity out of his quarterback. I respect the heck out of it. It's been Saquon Barkley, briefly injured last week, came back, finished the game off strong. Is his world. Is that man's world right now. So in terms of this week, though, big win last week against the Packers in London. I think they have more of a letdown this week. Baltimore's coming to town in the game they should win. Lamar Jackson, I really like him. I know he's without Bateman. I think that Adoree Jackson probably pays more attention to Devin Duvernay, which is why I'm probably not that into it. But I like Mark Andrews and I like Jackson. Those are the ones. I love Dobbins this week. Hill is not going to play. Edwards still not ready. I know you get a little Mike Davis. I know you get a little Kenyon Drake, but I'm not worried. I think the majority of it goes to Dobbins. This is where you lean on him. It's week 6. Let's see it already. He's healthy. He's been out there. He's not on the injury designation. I love him for tournaments this week. I don't think a lot of people are looking at that because they should get ahead and be running that clock. So I love Dobbins this week. Those are the 3 guys from Baltimore. Andrews, Dobbins, Jackson's, no surprises there. Nobody else. Giants side of things, Danny Dimes, I got to give him credit for keeping the offense moving. He's been doing better as I looked into the numbers this week than I have suspected. This is why you just can't look at the name on the back of the jersey and label it. He's not been blowing things out of the water, but the rushing upside has kept him alive. Baltimore, injuries on defense, injuries in the secondary, but so do the Giants. That's why I don't like them in this game. Passing wise, you got to go Slayton. I have to go Slayton. I need to fit him in for DFS. It makes a lot of things work. He showed up last week. He produced after really only showing up in week 1 and then being, non-existent or injured here, thereabout. but he showed up last week, so I think he's the guy again. He's proven he can win one-on-one matchups. I think he can get free in the zone. There's not much else that I like in the passing game. I think that Saquon Barkley in the passing game is viable, but him in the passing game and him running the ball, I think, Dable knows what he's doing. That provides enough leverage to those few plays to slay in. The Giants defense could surprise us and play better because they're at home, but I just don't see it. I think Lamar is a special player. He wins this one, and it's those three core group of Baltimore guys that leads it. I don't think their defense helps lead the way. They also don't get blown out of the water. I'm not particularly looking at them because they're so banged up, but Baltimore wins that game. Reload. Tampa Bay on the Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's got injured corners. They're starting a very weak secondary. I think Tom Brady goes to work. A little tougher on the ground against Pittsburgh anyway for Fournette. I mean, he'll get some touches. Maybe Rashad White gets some touches too in a tougher matchup, but it's going to be all about Brady. I like Mike Evans this week. I don't think I get here in DFS. I would just want to play Brady, but because he's getting his weapons more healthier, pretty much anybody except Julio's back. They want to save Julio for the stretch, which is fine. But I don't necessarily know that I want to go pick on those guys because Godwin's back now. But I do like Brady naked this week in the tournaments. So I would just play him. But if you want to pair him with one of those guys, that's okay. But Pittsburgh's going to be in trouble. So on the other side of things, I think they're going to have to try to play keep up. Look, Allen showed a couple weeks ago how you could blow this team out the water, and they're more depleted now. They don't have Watt on the line, so there's no pass rush. The secondary's banged up. Giddy up, right? So Pittsburgh's going to have to keep up. I think as far as Tampa Bay goes, their defense will be pretty stout. I don't necessarily want to, think that Pittsburgh has a great chance to run the football against them, but catching passes, Najee Harris should be able to catch a few and get some goal line work. I'm excited for that. Pickett's gonna have to be looking for Pickens. I think he'll be able to find him. Carlton is not a great corner. I think the Tampa Bay defense, does a bend don't break sort of a deal. He should have no problems finding George Pickens. But outside of that, Kenny Pickett, they've shown the willingness to let him sling it. I don't know how productive that'll be. I don't think you want to let Tampa Bay just slide back and tee off on him. I do think the Tampa Bay's defense can be in play this week for sure. That's why Brady's got to be a tournament play because I like Tampa Bay's defense so much. They can end up doing so much that you just necessarily don't have to do a whole bunch to win the game to force the issue. But Tom should come out slinging it to get them ahead and let the defense pin their ears back. I think that's the route that we see in a game. They go on the road and win. I think they can improve to 4-2 this week and shore up some issues they've been having. Reload. Carolina visiting the Rams. Listen, guys, coaching limbo in Carolina after firing Matt Rule, who's plenty happy to go back to college. Coaching carousel there. We don't know what we're going to see there. Depletions on the secondaries. Like there's a problem with the defense. They're banged up. We don't know who we have coaching-wise. This team is out right now. The Rams should be in play. Their defense should be in play. You don't even have you don't have Baker Mayfield. You have PJ Walker. You got to start the Rams defense this week. This is a yummy, enticing matchup for them. I don't like anything on the Carolina side. McCaffrey, you play him in seasonal, obviously for sure. DFS, I stay away from that price tag. Obviously you could just check down and dump down to him, but I just don't know what's going to be there because of the lack of the quarterback position for Carolina. The Rams can just cue in on this guy. The Rams side, I think Kupp's injury will not slow him down. He's been the only game in town, so why not keep doing it? I like the Rams to go to Kupp. I like the Rams to go to Higbee. I like Henderson because Cam Akers is going to sit. He's having some issues, some personal issues, time away from the team. Speculation, this guy's talking about wanting to be traded. None of that matters to us. We have clarity at the running back position this week. Henderson, that makes him way more viable. We like that, but they're going to win this game easily enough. Reload. Arizona as Seattle should be a fun one. Vegas expecting points in this one, so we got to expect points in this one. As far as Seattle goes, there is no more Penny, so Walker's the guy, right? So we like him for tournaments this week. I don't think a lot of people will be looking at that because they're looking at the passing parts. And everybody wants to get cute and stack this and win $1 million, right? I do like Geno Smith. What he's doing is impressive, and I cannot continue to refuse to give this man his roses, right? So Gino, we recommend for cash games this week. You could pay down. The price is so cheap. The matchup is so enticing. The Arizona defense isn't that great. He's played tougher opponents and made out well. Particularly, I'm thinking of that Saints game. So Gino seems like a good go there. And as far as Arizona defense goes, I think that they have, Byron Jones has less of a time working against Metcalf. So I think that this frees up Lockett. We hit on Lockett last week. I think we go right back again this week, Lockett again. And Gino showed the ability to find him if Metcalf is otherwise occupied. So love that. Love the running back. I'm not going to get cute with the tight end stuff, but I think that Gino will be able to find his guys and his ancillary pieces to push it downfield. Now, on the other side of things, the Cardinals, they get a sweet matchup against a bad defense. That's why they're going to win this game on the road. Kyler Murray's in a nice spot, but I also think that Connor being out, Benjamin, he's in a sweet spot. 20 fantasy points. I don't see why he couldn't get that. This dude is like a crush play for tournaments this week. The ownership will be a little too high, which is why I want tournaments instead of DFS. But love Benjamin. We one more week without DeAndre Hopkins, so Ertz and Seattle is woeful against the tight end. If you remember that Hockenson 40-plus point game, it was against Seattle. They're by far and large the worst team against the tight end. We like Ertz this week. I think he's probably my touchdown prop this week. Lock it in. That's the guy. That's the guy that I like this week. Zach Ertz. That's the guy that I think that Kyler can find. I also like Rondale Moore. I feel less safe about that, though. So we'll make that a tournament play. Love his price for DraftKings, though. But Rondale Moore in the slot, love that versus the outside this week. I think Seattle a little tougher on the outside. So I'm a little less inclined to go Hollywood Brown this week or any of the other pieces like AJ Green. I don't want that. Again, Ertz, Moore, Kyler. And that's how they're going to win. And on the other side, again, Gino, Kenneth, Lockett. They're not going to blank Metcalf, but it's a tougher day for him. Arizona wins. Reload. Shootout for the Sunday afternoon. Buffalo and Kansas City. Like Allen, like Mahomes for DFS, overly popular. Everybody's going to be thinking, I'll stack this game and get cute with the parts, right, and win. I don't know about that, but we like both quarterbacks. Allen's traditionally been doing well, averaging over 30 points in Arrowhead. A familiar opponent, likes getting up for them. I love him. I love Diggs. Diggs is a cash game play this week for sure. Kansas City is starting 2 rookie cornerbacks. No. That's good. Almost makes me want to play Allen in DFS, but it's going to be way too popular. We have to get cute some other way. There's just not a chance to win there. I know he's going to put up points, but what if we just went Mahomes or something else, right? So, but I'm not saying bad play. Allen is a crush spot. I love Diggs. That's a crush spot. Isaiah McKenzie coming back. I like him more than Gabriel Davis because Isaiah McKenzie at least is getting the looks. I don't want to count on 3 and 4 looks, so I'm not going Davis's way. Not too much in the Knox this week. Singletary, I think, can play a role too. I'm back in on him this week. Not for DFS, but for seasonal, you should feel okay about it. On the other side of things, Kansas City. The thing about it is they've been a little less explosive this year with Bieniemy calling the plays. I don't think that bodes well for them here, but I still like them. I like Mahomes. And again, I need to get different. I don't think I can win by just picking the players that everybody else is picking. So I have to try to do something else. Mahomes, we like. Kelsey, we like. I don't care how rough the matchup is. He'll find Kelsey. And in terms of tight end, Kelsey, even on a bad day, is better than most other tight ends because they just don't produce. Running wise, not looking at anything Kansas City's doing. They're going to have to play keep up. So Edwards-Helaire or whoever, I don't really care. Receiving wise, I don't want to take chances. Just play Mahomes naked. But more importantly, you play him with Diggs is what I'm thinking. If you want to have something different than Allen. If you want to go to Allen, guys, I'm not blaming you, but I just can't go with the herd this week. And I know I've been bitten a couple of times this year by not going with the herd, but I cannot play some dude knowing 80% chalk. I just can't do it. I didn't do it before, and I'm not going to start waffling on you guys. We're going to put our foot down and keep doing what we've been doing here, and positive regression will work our way. So we'll say Mahomes, DFS over Allen, but like them both. I can't say that enough, obviously. Tough game. I think Buffalo puts the pressure on. I don't know if Kansas City can respond. I would say Kansas City should, be favored because they're at home, but not the case. Allen loves going there. They're familiar playing these guys. Buffalo goes on the road, wins a tough one. Kansas City, I think, if they don't win this game, or if Mahomes is unhappy with the ability to stretch the field, we might see a different play caller after this. We'll find out though on Sunday. Should be a fun one, but it seems too perfect and too right. And if everybody wants to put all their chips in that basket, then I won't do it. Reload. Dallas at Philly. This should be a fun one. Listen, Dallas can pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. So Philly's got to try to run the football. That's the way you negate this defense. And they have the ability to do it. Miles Sanders can, Gainwell, Boston Scott, they got these guys. So they can run whoever they want and run Hurts. I like Hurts. You should never not play Hurts. This is a great game, and they're at home. Run the football, and they're really good at running the football, and they're really good at up front with the O-line. Dallas's defense, like I said, a little more problems stopping the run. That's why I think they're susceptible in this game, because Philly's not just going to sit back there and let you do what you're best at. So, AJ Brown, hands full with Diggs, Devonta Smith. I just don't think they'll have time to find him. Goddard, I'm much more into this matchup for sure. But running the football by and large, Hurts, you could play Hurts, but Miles Sanders, those two, great for this matchup, I think. Now, on the other side of things, we don't get Dak back, and we also have a banged up CeeDee Lamb, and I think he gets the attention from Slay. So I just don't like that. I think Gallup has a much better opportunity to produce, or even Brown, but I just can't go that deep. I do like Zeke Elliott and Pollard. I don't, which of the two I couldn't say. Zeke's not going away. He's continuing to get the touches, and a few receptions here and there. So if you got to play him, don't feel terrible. I think you're okay to do that. You're fine there. Dallas, I think, for their part, will have to try to run the football more. You're banged up at quarterback. You're banged up at wide receiver. You get Schultz back. If he's been banged up, so if he can get in there, I like him to be the security blanket. Again, I like Noah Brown, but I don't think Dallas has enough to win this game. If Philly commits to what they've been good at, which is running, and they've been banged up on the O-line, now they're completely healthy. Mulata is a big difference from the secondary guys at tackle. So I like it. I think it's all systems go on the ground. I don't think that Dallas will be able to stop the chains from moving. Maybe a lower scoring game, but Philly's going to win that one. And we have our final shot. We'll make a good reload. It's a revenge game. Melvin Gordon is going with Denver back to the Chargers. And this should be a fun one on Monday night. Chargers haven't been able to stop anybody on the ground, so you'd expect that Gordon should be in a great position. Russ has been struggling through the air, and so I can't necessarily say that I have a lot of confidence in him. But the Chargers are banged up on defense, and so Sutton, I would say you could go there. But Judy, I think, continues to struggle here this week against this defense because Russ continues to struggle. Tight end wise, you could go to Alberto. If you have to play a seasonal wise, you're in a pinch, that's fine. But DFS, I'm staying away from that. It's more about Melvin Gordon, I think. Defense wise for Denver, I think they match up better on the outside. So Mike Williams and Palmer, I'm a little less in on them. But Keenan Allen should be back, and we like him on the inside. I think that's a great spot for him. I also believe that you can run this football against the Denver defense. And so Eckler, we like him. So Herbert will find a way to get his guys involved. Tight end wise, I'm not sure who they go to. There's, they ping pong between the couple of guys. I don't want to pick that. I don't want to play Herbert if I don't have to. But seasonal wise, play him and feel fine. DFS, of the two, like if you're playing a showdown slate or something like that, then you play Herbert. But I like Eckler. I like Gordon. I like Allen. We like Sutton. These are the pieces that we like in this game. I don't think Denver is a great football team. I don't think they're particularly coached very well right now. There's a lot going wrong. There's a lot of missing pieces. There's some banged up guys in the secondary. We like the Chargers to continue to get better, to continue to improve on the football team as they continue to get healthy for this stretch down the season. And so they'll win this football game. I think their defense comes up a little bigger towards the end. I could even see Russ trying to take some chances to keep his team in it or to win it late, but I just don't see it happening. I see the Chargers pulling ahead and taking that victory. So that's our reload for this week. Hopefully that gives you guys a great idea of what I'm thinking game script wise, and you can help Plan strategically for that. Guys, that's some good chunk stuff this week. A lot of interesting matchups, but it's starting to get more straightforward as we have the statistics and the rankings and the numbers that we can rely on a little more. Because at this point in the season, you are who you are. Okay, down to the last two, our top two on our top five horror movie franchises. Top five was The Ring. I'm sorry, number five was The Ring on the top five. Number four was Child's Play. Number three was Nightmare on Elm Street. Number two franchise on the horror franchise top five list is Hannibal, the Hannibal Lecter series. How fun. I ate his kidney with some fava beans or whatever he says. I just love all those movies. Silence of the Lamb is great, but the Hannibal, which is the remake of Manhunter, which you haven't seen, that was the first movie about Lecter. And if you knew this, kudos to you, but that movie actually didn't have um, uh, why am I forgetting on the guy that plays Lecter? It didn't have him in the movies. It was a different character. This is the set aside from the rest of the Hopkins movies. So interesting stuff there, but great franchise nonetheless. That's number two, Hannibal. And number one on my top five horror franchise films is Halloween, man. For my money, Halloween goes hard and it never stops. There has at least been 20 of these, like I said, for Nightmare for Elm Street. But just love me some Michael Myers, love the story, love the remakes and the retakes. The ones that they're making now are pretty cool. Nice retake that involves Jamie Lee. But also, you have like the remakes, the Rob Zombie remakes, those are really good too. There's not a lot to hate about the Halloween franchises. The early 2000 ones where Busta Rhymes, I remember he was in one of them. It's been fun, and I like that they continue to make them. But when I think of my favorite slasher film, that he's coming to get me, this is by far taking the cake for me every time, and that is the Halloween franchise series featuring the one, the only Michael Myers. All right, guys, that was our top five for the top five horror franchises. Number five, Ring. Number four, Child's Play. Number three, Nightmare on Elm Street. Number two, Hannibal. And number one, Halloween. All right, on to our DFS plays to end up our week, guys. It's been a great episode. You have all the ways to keep in contact with us. Let me know if you have questions. But for DFS, a few more choices than last week, but we want to keep it condensed, right? Cash game purposes, we're going Joe Burrow. We talked about that game ad nauseum. $6,700. If you got to pay down, go Geno Smith, $5,700. We'll do that to keep ourselves separated from the pack. And then as far as cash game wide receivers go, love Diggs at $8,400. I think people will be tempted to not want to pay for that. That's fine. Let's let them do that. Jamar Chase at $7,700. If I'm going to play Burrow, I'll pair him. And then I don't think people will be on that because Chase has been so down this year. But again, the homecoming, I want it. I want pieces of it. Deebo Samuel, $7,600. I like that as well. Sneaky play. I think he's pretty expensive. People might not be looking in that direction. But then Lockett, $5,600. And then we'll use Slayton at $3,800 to make the rest of this fit. They should have the capacity to keep up. And Baltimore's secondary doesn't look unbeatable. Tight end for cash games this week. Mark Andrews, you could pay up at $7K. I like that. Or you go Ertz at $4,900. I don't blame you if you just stick Ertz into every lineup. I feel that good about it. And then Higbee at $4,600. He's the only other person being targeted besides Kupp. So it's like Kupp longer, Higbee shorter. There's a lot of targets in the intermediary for him. So we like Higbee this week. Running back wise, I'm still going to say you could play Jeff Wilson. I know there's a couple other guys, including Coleman in the mix like we talked about, but we don't care. $6,200. In a game, they should run the ball effectively. We'll take that. Breece Hall, $5,800. We'll take that. He's obviously getting more of the work than Carter and even shown the ability to catch those passes. He can pay off. And then Henderson with no Akers at $5,100. We are going to take that. Sorry, guys. Didn't mean to cough right in the mic there. And then defense for cash games, Rams at $4,100 or Bucks at $3,900. Okay. Tournaments, Lamar Jackson, $8,100. We said everybody's going to be on Allen or Mahomes, so we can differentiate ourselves by going Jackson. Everything runs through him. So, that should be a pretty good pick. Mahomes, though, can't go Allen. We'll go Mahomes. And if you want to pair him with Diggs, that's the way to do it, right? Mahomes or Brady. So Jackson Mahomes or Brady is $6,300. Brady should be able to sling it against this depleted Pittsburgh defense. We really like him. Those are the three GPP quarterbacks. Lock it in. Tournaments. We can pay up in the tournament. Cup, 9,700. He's so expensive that it has to be a tournament play. But guys, he's been averaging the points to pay that off. He's actually averaging more fantasy points per game than he was last year on his historic pace. There's nothing slowing him down. I don't care about that foot injury this week. Still the only game in town until Stafford proves otherwise. Cooper Kupp at $9,700 for tournaments. Let's lock it in. $8,900 for Justin Jefferson. Again, he's proven to be really good this year, even in scenarios where teams want to cue in on him. I don't think a lot of people want to pay up for it. If you want to get different, you can use him as your high-paying guy. But Lazard at $6K, love that value. Christian Kirk at $5,800. Those are your middle value guys there, right? Lower valued, Drake London, $5,400. Tyler Boyd, $5,100. Isaiah McKenzie, $5K. And then sub-value, Rondale Moore, $4,200. Donovan Peoples-Jones, $3,900. So talked about all those guys that lived throughout the show. And we should have more wide receiver options for tournaments because we got to chase a little bit more upside when trying to win those guaranteed prize pool tournaments. Okay. Tight ends for tournaments. Kelsey at $7,800. Talked about why you should pay up. Kittle, if you want to just go there, $5,100, do it. Lock it in. I love that play. Evan Ingram. I can't tell if that's 51 or 57. Even if that's $5,700, I don't care. Use Kittle. Evan Ingram, $3,500. Lock that in. We like him in the middle of the field along with Kirk against that Colts defense. And then as far as running backs go, Dobbins talked about the reasons why at $5,500, that's a steal. Kenneth Walker, $5,400, only game in town. And then, Benjamin. Well, DJ Dallas, obviously, get some touches there. But it's Kenneth Walker. Benjamin, $4,600, great value there. Guys, you can pay down a running back this week and pay up for wide receiver in cash and tournaments. But if you want to pay up for running backs, you could go with Barkley at 77, Aaron Jones at 76, Cooks at 75, Fournette at 74. Cook, I would probably only do if we hear that Madison's going to be out. But if you want to, I don't have a problem with those guys. But I can't get there this week. I want to get the value at wide receiver. I want to pay up for wide receiver by getting the value that exists at running back because of all these injuries we know now. Benjamin, he was priced before the Connor injury. Walker's still cheap. Dobbins is still cheap. This is all good for us. Henderson was priced before the Cam Akers not playing. This is all good for us. Defense-wise, for tournaments, Pat's at $2,900. We can go back again next week, or Falcons at $25. I don't think people will be suspecting either of those. But, guys, those are our tournament plays and our DFS plays for this week. So, good luck to you as you continue to map out your lineups. You guys know how to reach me if you need. That's our show for this week. We'll be right back here next week talking about it all and getting ready for Week 7 action. Peace.